Breaking stories don't always arrive with handcuffs and headlines. Sometimes they creep in quietly, through whispers, screenshots, and a sudden shift in tone that fans can't ignore. And right now, the internet is buzzing with one name being repeated more than any other: Jay-Z. Not because of an arrest, not because of a confirmed charge, but because a growing wave of commentary is pointing in his direction as the next possible figure to be pulled into the chaos surrounding 50 Cent's explosive Diddy documentary. Fans are shocked at how fast the narrative is moving. One moment, the focus was entirely on Diddy. The next, people are asking uncomfortable questions about who might be standing closest to the fallout. Emotions are running high online as clips resurface, old interviews get replayed, and social media fills with theories that feel impossible to ignore. Some say this is just internet speculation spiraling out of control. Others believe the timing feels far too precise to be random. Every new post, every liked comment, every moment of silence is being dissected like evidence. And here's where things get even more intense. No one is claiming this is confirmed truth. No one is saying this has actually happened. But the fact that these stories are circulating at all has left fans uneasy, divided, and glued to their screens. Because when a name like Jay-Z starts trending alongside words like next and fallout, it changes the atmosphere completely. The question now isn't what's true, it's why these rumors are gaining so much traction right now, and where this storm could be heading next. The conversation didn't explode all at once, it simmered. It started with fans replaying clips, slowing down interviews, rereading captions, and noticing how the tone around the Diddy documentary had shifted. At first, the focus stayed where everyone expected it to stay. Diddy was the center of attention, the name dominating timelines, thumbnails, and late-night discussions. But slowly, almost quietly, another narrative began forming. People started saying it felt like the spotlight was widening, not because of proof, not because of charges, but because commentary itself was evolving. Fans were shocked by how often Jay-Z's name began appearing in the same conversations, usually framed as a question, never a statement. Why him? Why now? And why does the timing feel so deliberate? Online reactions poured in fast. Some fans dismissed it immediately, calling it reckless speculation fueled by clicks. Others leaned in, arguing that in moments like this, silence can feel louder than words. Emotions ran high as comment sections turned into debates. One user wrote that this was nothing more than the internet reaching for the next villain. Another replied that history shows narratives rarely stop with one name. The family was left divided in public opinion too, at least in the symbolic sense. Longtime supporters defended Jay-Z's legacy, pointing to decades of influence and clean business moves. Critics, however, said influence itself is exactly why his name keeps coming up in speculative conversations. No one was agreeing on facts, they were arguing about patterns. The chatter intensified when fans began dissecting 50 Cent's behavior online. Not direct statements, not accusations, but reactions, likes, pauses, the kind of digital breadcrumbs that fuel entire theories. People started saying it felt intentional, like someone was letting the internet do the talking without stepping in to stop it. Others pushed back hard, saying that reading into social media behavior was dangerous and unfair. Still, the speculation didn't slow down. If anything, it accelerated. Emotions ran high because no one wanted to be the last person pretending nothing was happening. Behind the scenes, industry voices were also being pulled into the discussion, at least in fan interpretation. Old interviews resurfaced where Jay-Z spoke about loyalty, power, and responsibility. None of it was new, but in this new context, fans said it sounded different. One clip circulated where he talked about weathering storms and staying quiet during chaos. Supporters said it proved wisdom. Skeptics said it felt like foreshadowing. Again, no facts changed, only perception did. Family dynamics became another angle fans couldn't stop talking about, not because anyone involved spoke publicly, but because the audience projected emotion onto the silence. Fans speculated how it must feel to watch your name trend alongside controversy you didn't create. Some imagined tense conversations behind closed doors. Others imagined calm confidence. Either way, the emotional stakes felt real to viewers. This is how modern drama works. It lives in imagination as much as reality. As days passed, the commentary grew more dramatic. Reaction channels framed your videos carefully, repeating the same disclaimer over and over. Nothing confirmed, no official claims, just reports that the
conversations are happening. Fans are talking. The culture is buzzing. Even that careful framing didn't stop the emotional impact. The idea that Jay-Z could even be mentioned as next was enough to keep people watching. It wasn't about truth anymore. It was about momentum. Some fans pointed out that this pattern felt familiar. History shows that when one powerful figure falls into controversy, attention naturally shifts outward. People look for connections, alliances, rivalries, not because they want justice, but because narratives crave expansion. Emotions ran high when someone posted that this wasn't about guilt or innocence, but about proximity. Being close to power means being close to scrutiny. Others strongly disagreed, saying proximity alone shouldn't justify suspicion. The arguments went in circles, feeding the algorithm and the drama simultaneously. Industry insiders, at least as portrayed by fan commentary, were said to be watching closely, not making statements, not taking sides, but observing. That idea alone added another layer of tension. Fans imagined boardrooms, phone calls, quiet check-ins. None of it confirmed, all of it compelling. The story didn't need facts to grow, it needed attention, and it had plenty of that. Through all of this, one thing remained consistent. No one could point to a single moment where everything changed. There was no breaking clip, no explosive statement, just a slow accumulation of whispers that began to feel heavy. Fans described it as that moment in a reality show when the music shifts but nothing has happened yet. You know something is coming, but you don't know what. Emotions ran high because uncertainty is more unsettling than answers. And as the commentary continued, the focus subtly moved away from Diddy alone, not replaced but expanded. The fallout felt like it was casting a wider shadow, touching conversations it hadn't touched before. Jay-Z's name sat inside that shadow, not because of proof, but people kept placing it there. Whether fair or not, the narrative had momentum, and once momentum builds, it rarely stops on its own. The tone across social media didn't change overnight, but fans swear they felt it. The energy around the conversation shifted in a way that was impossible to miss. People weren't just talking about the Diddy documentary anymore, they were talking about what comes after. That's where the speculation began to feel heavier, more deliberate, and more emotionally charged. Timelines filled with comments suggesting that the fallout wasn't finished spreading, not because of new evidence, not because of confirmed action, but because narratives have a way of expanding once the public gets invested. Fans are shocked by how quickly curiosity turned into conviction for some people, while others pushed back just as hard, insisting that this was nothing more than rumor culture feeding itself. At the center of this shift was one uncomfortable observation. When 50 Cent continued engaging online without directly addressing the growing theories, many viewers interpreted that silence in wildly different ways. Some saw it as restraint, others saw it as strategy. Emotions ran high as reaction videos broke down every move frame by frame, word by word, like a reality show reunion where nothing is said directly but everything feels implied. Viewers argued over intent, with one side saying he was letting the documentary speak for itself, and the other insisting that allowing speculation to grow unchecked was a message in its own right. Jay-Z's name didn't enter the conversation with force. It slipped in through comparisons, through historical context, through fans connecting dots that may or may not belong together. Someone would post an old clip, someone else would reply with a theory. Soon, entire threads were built around questions that had no clear answers. Fans are shocked by how quickly those questions turned into trending topics. Not accusations, not claims, just endless curiosity, the kind that refuses to settle. What made it even more intense was the emotional investment people already have in these figures. Jay-Z isn't just another celebrity. For many fans, he represents success, control, and long-term survival in an industry known for chaos. That's why the idea of his name even being mentioned alongside controversy felt jarring. Supporters rushed to defend him, pointing out decades of careful moves and public discipline. Critics countered that being careful doesn't make someone invisible. The family was left divided in the court of public opinion, with loyalty and suspicion clashing in comment sections that moved faster than anyone could moderate. The conversation also took on a psychological layer. Fans began talking less about facts and more about pressure. What does it feel like to wake up and see your name trending next to words like next and fallout? What does silence mean when everyone is watching? People projected emotion
onto that silence, imagining frustration, calm confidence, or quiet concern. None of it confirmed, all of it emotionally compelling. This is how modern celebrity drama operates. The audience fills in the gaps when information is scarce. Meanwhile, older industry moments were pulled back into the spotlight. Interviews where Jay-Z spoke about loyalty, power, and long memories were replayed with new commentary layered over them. Fans argued that these clips had been harmless for years, but now sounded different because of context. Emotions ran high as people debated whether context can actually change meaning, or if viewers were simply hearing what they wanted to hear. Again, there were no answers, only louder voices. Friends and collaborators weren't speaking publicly, but that silence became part of the story too. Fans speculated about private conversations, about phone calls happening behind closed doors, about reassurance or warnings being exchanged quietly. Some viewers imagined unity and calm, others imagined tension and preparation. The truth remained unknown, but the speculation itself kept the narrative alive. Every unanswered question became fuel. Reaction channels leaned into careful language, constantly reminding viewers that nothing was confirmed. Still, the dramatic tone remained. Fans are shocked not because something has happened, but because something feels like it could happen. That feeling is powerful. It keeps people watching, commenting, sharing. The emotional stakes feel real even when the facts remain unchanged. As the days passed, the Diddy documentary began to feel less like a standalone event and more like the opening chapter of a longer saga in the eyes of the audience. Not because of official announcements, but because people expect stories like this to grow. Narratives rarely end where they begin. They branch out, pull in new characters and raise the tension before any resolution appears. Emotions ran high as fans argued over whether it was fair to even think this way, or whether the culture itself encourages this kind of expansion. Through it all, one thing became clear. The story had shifted from what happened to what people believe might happen next. That shift changed everything. It transformed commentary into anticipation and curiosity into pressure. And once that kind of momentum builds, it doesn't need confirmation to keep moving forward. As the speculation continued to grow, the reaction from fans became more emotional and more personal. This was no longer just about a documentary or online chatter. It started to feel like a test of loyalty, memory, and belief. Fans are shocked at how quickly people took sides, even though everyone kept repeating the same reminder that none of this was confirmed. The reminder almost became background noise, something said quickly before diving straight back into theory and interpretation. Emotions ran high because people weren't just defending a celebrity, they were defending what that celebrity represented to them. Some longtime supporters argue that Jay-Z had always moved differently from others in the industry. They pointed to his reputation for staying quiet, handling business privately, and avoiding public messes. To them, the sudden wave of commentary felt disrespectful and lazy. They said this was the internet confusing proximity with guilt. Others pushed back, saying that history shows power structures don't exist in isolation. When one pillar shakes, people naturally look at the beams connected to it. The family was left divided in spirit, with fans arguing like relatives at a dinner table, where no one agrees on what actually happened, but everyone feels strongly about it. What intensified the drama was how every small action was suddenly magnified. A liked comment here, a vague caption there. Fans treated these moments like clues in a mystery that had no official narrator. Some people insisted that this kind of behavior was just trolling, entertainment, nothing more. Others said trolling itself can be a weapon, a way to guide the narrative without ever taking responsibility for it. Emotions ran high as reaction videos replayed the same screenshots over and over, each time adding a new layer of interpretation. The same image could mean confidence to one viewer and profitation to another. The conversation also started pulling in broader industry history. Fans began talking about alliances, rivalries, and moments that once seemed insignificant. Old award show interactions, shared stages, business overlaps, all resurfaced as people searched for meaning. Fans are shocked by how memory works in moments like this. Things forgotten for years suddenly feel relevant again. Critics argue that this kind of backward digging was unfair, that you could make any story look suspicious if you zoom out far enough. Supporters of the speculation responded by saying patterns only appear when you step back. Emotions ran high when the topic of silence
came up again. Not just Jay-Z's silence, but the silence of people around him. No statements, no denials, no clarifications. To some fans, this felt like discipline and control. To others, it felt unsettling. The family was left divided emotionally because silence can be read in opposite ways. One side hears confidence, the other hears calculation. Neither side can prove their point, but both feel certain. The drama deepened as fans began projecting what this moment might feel like on a human level. They imagined waking up to headlines built on speculation, watching strangers debate your character and future. Some viewers expressed sympathy, saying no one deserves to be dragged into a storm they didn't start. Others said public life comes with public scrutiny, fair or not. Emotions ran high because these arguments weren't really about celebrities anymore. They were about fairness, power, and how narratives are created. Meanwhile, the Diddy documentary itself continued to loom over everything. Fans argued that the success of the documentary changed the rules. Once a story captures attention on that scale, people expect more chapters, not because they are promised, but because the audience demands them. This expectation fed the idea that the fallout had to keep expanding. Fans are shocked by how storytelling logic begins to replace reality in moments like this. People start thinking in terms of episodes, arcs, and reveals instead of facts. Online creators added fuel, intentionally or not. Even those who tried to be careful couldn't avoid dramatic framing. Thumbnails, titles, and tone all suggested something bigger was coming. Emotions ran high as viewers accused creators of manufacturing tension for views. Creators responded by saying they were simply reflecting what fans were already talking about. The cycle fed itself. Audience demand shaped content, and content intensified audience demand. Another layer of tension came from comparisons. Fans compared this moment to past industry controversies, pointing out how often speculation preceded official developments in other cases. Others warned against this thinking, saying it creates a false sense of inevitability. Just because something happened before doesn't mean it will happen again. The family was left divided between those who trust history and those who believe every situation is unique. Private life speculation crept in too, despite no public information changing. Fans imagined stress, strategy, and conversations happening behind closed doors. Some pictured calm planning, others pictured unease. None of it confirmed, all of it emotionally charged. Fans are shocked by how easily imagination fills the gaps left by silence. The less information there is, the more vivid the theories become. Throughout all of this, one idea kept resurfacing. This story wasn't about proving anything, it was about watching how narratives move. Emotions ran high because people sensed they were witnessing a shift, even if they couldn't define it. The Diddy fallout felt like the spark, but the fire was being fed by attention, curiosity, and expectation. Once that kind of fire spreads, it doesn't need new fuel to keep burning. It feeds on itself, growing louder, wider, and harder to escape. As the conversation stretched on, a new layer of tension settled in, one that felt less explosive but more unsettling. Fans began to notice how the narrative was no longer being driven by any single voice. It wasn't 50 Cent speaking directly, it wasn't Jay-Z responding, it was the crowd itself, shaping the story through repetition. Fans are shocked by how quickly a question can turn into a storyline when enough people repeat it. What started as curiosity became expectation, and expectation slowly hardened into belief for some viewers, even without confirmation. Emotions ran high when people started debating responsibility. Some argued that it was unfair to let speculation grow without pushing back against it. Others said responding to rumors only give them more oxygen. This back and forth became its own drama. Supporters of silence said it showed confidence and control. Critics said it allowed misinformation to run wild. The family was left divided in attitude, with each side convinced the other didn't understand how power really works in public life. The idea of pressure became a central theme in commentary. Not legal pressure, not official pressure, but cultural pressure. Fans talked about how influence itself attracts scrutiny. When someone has been successful for too long, people begin to look for cracks even if they aren't there. Fans are shocked by how often admiration can quietly turn into suspicion. The same qualities once praised, discipline, privacy, control, suddenly get reframed as secrecy. Emotions ran high because this shift feels subtle but powerful, and once it happens, it's hard to reverse. Industry history continued to be re-examined, not as evidence, but as atmosphere.
People talked about how alliances form and dissolve quietly, how loyalty in public doesn't always match reality behind closed doors. None of this was tied to new information. It was storytelling logic applied to real lives. Fans argued over whether this kind of narrative building was inevitable or irresponsible. The family was left divided philosophically, not over facts, but over how stories should be told. Another twist emerged when fans began focusing less on individuals and more on systems. Commentary shifted toward the idea that this moment represented something bigger than one person or one documentary. It became about how the industry handles power, how stories surface, and who gets protected or exposed. Fans are shocked by how quickly a personal narrative can transform into a symbolic one. Jay-Z's name in this framing wasn't about him specifically, it was about what he represents in the culture. That made the speculation feel heavier, even if it remained unproven. Emotions ran high as people debated whether it was fair to turn living people into symbols. Some viewers said this kind of thinking erases humanity, reducing complex lives to characters in a drama. Others said public figures inevitably become symbols, whether they want to or not. The family was left divided emotionally, with empathy on one side and cynicism on the other. Neither side could fully convince the other, and the arguments kept looping. Social media behavior continued to be treated like a puzzle. Fans analyzed timing, engagement, and tone as if decoding a script. Some insisted that there was intention behind every move. Others argued that not everything online is strategic, that people project meaning where none exists. Emotions ran high because both ideas feel plausible. The lack of clarity made the speculation feel endless. Every explanation opened the door to another question. Meanwhile, the audience's role became impossible to ignore. Viewers started acknowledging that they were part of the story now. Their clicks, comments, and shares were shaping the narrative in real time. Fans are shocked by how much power the crowd holds in moments like this. Even without new information, attention alone can keep a story alive. Creators responded to that attention, and in doing so, amplified it further. The cycle tightened. The emotional tone of the conversation shifted again, becoming less aggressive and more anxious. Instead of accusations, people expressed unease, a sense that something was hovering just out of sight. Fans described it as waiting for a shoe to drop, even if they didn't know what that shoe might be. Emotions ran high because uncertainty creates tension without resolution. It keeps people alert, scrolling, and speculating. Private life speculation resurfaced, not with new details, but with imagined scenarios. Viewers pictured meetings, strategy sessions, and quiet reassurances happening away from cameras. Some imagined calm confidence, others imagined stress and frustration. None of it confirmed, all of it emotionally charged. Fans are shocked by how vividly people can imagine situations they have no access to. Silence invites storytelling, and storytelling fills the gaps. As the narrative matured, some fans began pushing back against the entire process. They questioned whether this kind of commentary was healthy or fair. They argued that speculation disguised as discussion can still cause real harm. Others responded that discussion itself isn't harm, that audiences are allowed to talk about what they see unfolding.
The family was left divided ethically, with no clear line between curiosity and exploitation. Through all these twists, one truth remained. Nothing concrete had changed. No statements, no confirmations, no official developments. Yet the emotional weight of the story kept growing. Fans are shocked by how momentum alone can create pressure. The Diddy documentary felt like the catalyst, but the ongoing drama felt self-sustaining. Attention fed tension, tension fed interpretation, and interpretation fed more attention. By this point, the story no longer needed new material to survive. It had become a living conversation, evolving through perception rather than facts. Emotions ran high because people sensed they were watching something unfold, even if they couldn't define what that something was. The narrative had moved beyond a single event and into the realm of expectation, where anything feels possible and nothing feels settled. By the time the discussion reached the stage, it was clear that the story had taken on a life of its own. It no longer depended on new clips, fresh screenshots, or breaking updates. It lived in the emotional space between curiosity and anxiety. Fans weren't asking what had happened anymore. They were asking what might happen next. That shift changed everything. Fans are shocked by how anticipation can feel heavier than facts, how the waiting itself becomes the drama. Emotions ran high because
High as people began questioning the role of entertainment in all of this. Some viewers admitted they felt uncomfortable, aware that they were consuming speculation while still craving updates. Others argued that commentary has always been part of celebrity culture, that discussing public narratives doesn't automatically cross a line. The family was left divided in mindset, with one side leaning toward restraint and the other toward relentless curiosity. Neither side fully satisfied, but both deeply engaged. The idea of inevitability crept into conversations, even as people tried to reject it. Fans used phrases like, "It feels like something is coming," or "the silence is too loud." Others immediately pushed back, warning that this kind of thinking creates outcomes that may never exist. Emotions ran high because inevitability is seductive. It gives uncertainty a shape. It turns waiting into a storyline with a beginning and an imagined end. Even those who rejected the idea found themselves talking about it. Commentary channels reflected this tension. Their language grew careful but dramatic, constantly reminding viewers that nothing was confirmed while still leaning into the emotional weight of the moment. Fans are shocked by how easily tone can influence perception. A pause, a lowered voice, a slow buildup can make speculation feel serious, even when the facts remain unchanged. Viewers debated whether this was manipulation or simply storytelling responding to audience emotion. Another twist emerged when fans began comparing reactions across different groups. Some communities dismissed the entire narrative as noise. Others treated it as a serious cultural moment. This contrast only deepened the divide. Emotions ran high because people felt like they were watching two different stories unfold at the same time, one rooted in skepticism, the other in anticipation, both existing side by side, feeding off each other. The personal stakes, though imagined, felt real to viewers. Fans talked about legacy, reputation, and the fragility of public image. They debated how quickly decades of work can become overshadowed by rumor alone. Some expressed fear over how easily narratives can turn. Others argued that true legacies withstand noise. The family was left divided emotionally, torn between faith and resilience and fear of damage. As the days went on, even the absence of escalation became a topic. Fans questioned why nothing new had emerged. Was that a sign that the speculation was empty, or was it the calm before something bigger? Emotions ran high because silence can be read as reassurance or suspense. Every hour without news felt like another reason to speculate rather than relax. The waiting itself became part of the experience. Audience self-awareness grew stronger. Viewers acknowledged that they were contributing to the momentum by watching, sharing, and commenting. Fans are shocked by how difficult it is to step away once you realize you're part of the machine. Some said they wanted resolution just so the tension would stop. Others admitted that uncertainty was what kept them engaged. This honesty added another layer to the drama, turning the lens back on the audience. The broader cultural implications were debated again. People talked about how stories are built in the digital age, how repetition can turn possibility into perceived probability. Emotions ran high as viewers questioned whether this system benefits anyone. Some argued it holds power accountable. Others said it blurs the line between accountability and entertainment. The family was left divided philosophically, unsure where responsibility truly lies. As the narrative reached this point, it felt less like a scandal and more like a test of patience, of judgment, of how much weight people give to rumors versus reality. Fans are shocked by how emotionally invested they've become without concrete developments. That realization alone speaks to the power of storytelling in the modern age. The story now sits in a strange place. Nothing confirmed, nothing resolved,
yet far from quiet. Emotions ran high because unresolved stories linger longer than resolved ones. They invite imagination, debate, and projection. They refuse to settle neatly into truth or fiction. What happens next remains unknown, and that uncertainty is exactly what keeps the conversation alive. Not because people believe something has happened, but because they believe something could. And in the world of entertainment commentary, that possibility is often enough to sustain attention, tension, and endless discussion long after the original spark has faded. Now that you've heard how this story has unfolded, the real question isn't about confirmation, it's about interpretation. You've seen how quickly commentary can turn into momentum, how silence can feel louder than statements, and how rumors can reshape the conversation even when nothing official has changed. Fans are shocked not because
facts have dropped, but because the atmosphere feels different. And that feeling is what keeps stories like this alive. This is where you come in. Do you think this is just another example of the internet stretching a narrative too far? Or do you believe moments like this signal deeper shifts in the culture that we only recognize later? Emotions ran high throughout this breakdown because everyone brings their own perspective, their own experiences, and their own trust or skepticism into the conversation. There's no single way to read what's happening, and that's exactly why discussions like this matter. You're not being asked to decide what's true or false. You're being asked to think critically about how stories are built, shared, and amplified. Ask yourself why certain names trend, why certain silences feel heavy, and why anticipation can sometimes feel more powerful than facts. The family was left divided in public opinion, and audiences everywhere are split between curiosity and caution. Now we want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you see this as harmless speculation, or as a sign of how quickly narratives can grow out of control? Do you think silence is strength, or does it invite more questions? Your voice is part of this conversation, whether you agree, disagree, or remain undecided. As you found this breakdown engaging, make sure you like the video so more people can join the discussion. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the stories everyone is talking about, but few are unpacking carefully. And don't forget to turn on notifications, because in moments like this, the narrative can shift fast. Stay curious, stay thoughtful, and most importantly, stay aware of how easily stories can evolve right in front of us.